Sorry, yeah, if you guys are just not coming in, that won't scan until, or it will scan, but it won't actually collect attendance. That's like an SAO thing. We'll go ahead and get started. If you're, yeah, I'm gonna skip the QR code, so it doesn't even matter. Cool. Awesome. Well, hopefully, if you're in the right room, then you're here to attend the Autonomous Robotics Club call-out event. This is going to be a pretty informal event, so at any time if you have any questions or you just want to say something, go ahead and raise your hand. We can get your voice heard. But we'll also have time at the end for questions if you want to wait till then. And also at the end, you'll have opportunities to come up to us and talk to us, just if you have any more personal questions you want to ask. But it'll be pretty brief. We'll start off by just introducing ourselves and who we are on the leadership team. And then we're going to talk more about like what the club actually does, how we sort of operate on a weekly basis. And then we'll talk about some of our ongoing projects. You'll get to know more, like some of the technical details of what they're working on and how they're sort of accomplishing the missions they've set forth. And then afterwards, we'll talk about like what the onboarding process might look like if you do decide to get involved. And from there, what some of your next action items are if you do want to get involved. So we'll start off with introductions. My name is Harrison McCarty. I'm a junior in computer science, and I'm the president of the club this year. And we can sort of just do like a sneak back if we want. Yeah, so there's a bit of discrepancy of like who's up here and what's on the board. So up on the board is kind of our, I guess, leadership team. We're more so responsible for ensuring that the overall club is performing well, and our main responsibility is to provide the resources for the various projects we have going on within the club. So at any given point in time, the club may be doing 3 or 4 different projects that each have their own sort of sub teams, and within those sub teams, each have their own sub teams of different specialties and skills dedicated towards that project. So the main goal of this leadership team is just to provide each of those projects with the resource they need to succeed in their mission. But up here, we kind of have a slew of some of the project managers for some of those projects and also some of the leadership team members. So talking a little more about like what we actually do and what our mission is within the club. Our official mission statement is that we openly explore challenging problems in the field of autonomous robotic systems, and hopefully that through ARC, students of any background can collaborate with an active body of shared knowledge. And so that's just got a bunch of technical jargon to say that we're the Build Cool Shit Club. So we try to provide an opportunity for anyone in the field of robotics to explore whatever it is they find interesting. We don't put any sort of restrictions on a lot of the projects that go on within the club as far as like having to require some or return some sort of financial investment or return some sort of competitive investment. It's really open to the students to decide what they find interesting and what they want to explore within their individual projects, and we try to fund that. The club started back in 2015, and back then we were a lot more focused on being a competitive robotics team within a certain UAV competition. But since then, of course, we've transitioned a lot to becoming a lot more open and more of a community that just supports various projects that go on. As far as how we operate on a weekly basis, the most important meeting you're going to find throughout the week is usually the project meetings. So after you get involved with the club, you will most likely find some sort of project you're most interested in and decide that's the one you want to be involved with. From there, they'll each schedule their own project meeting times. So we do this that way. It's a lot more accommodating to whatever schedules the project team might have, because overall, I think we have around 60 students, but each one of the projects may have like 10 to 20 students. So each one of the projects will schedule their own meeting times that fit your schedule best. And that's what you're going to have to be most aware of, and it'll probably take up most of your time as far as being involved within the club. These are all hosted by your project managers. You'll meet in a little bit, and are actually where you're working on whatever it is you find interesting. The other 2 meetings are more so optional for any of the students within the club, but provide an opportunity for you to get more involved with the general scope of the club if that's something you're interested in. For instance, leadership team meetings, that's where the board you saw a few slides ago gets together and sort of discusses some of the general trends going on within the club and discusses the progress of each one of the projects and ensures they're all having their resources met. So if you're interested in getting involved with the more leadership side of things, maybe that's a good meeting to attend. We usually meet on Sundays, and you can find that on our calendar on the website. And then last, we also try to host social events on a monthly basis. This is just another opportunity to meet like the full club, because once you kind of get settled into whatever project you find interesting, you're not going to be communicating with some of the other team members as much, just like within the full scope of the club. So this is an opportunity to get to meet them a little more and kind of build more of that community aspect that we go for. As far as how things have changed going, coming from like, I guess my freshman year now to where we're at now, we have a few just requirements that everyone should be aware of as mandated by Purdue. The most obvious being that at any meeting you attend, make sure you wear masks. And then if you are looking to schedule a meeting, if you want to take up the responsibility of hosting a social event or anything of that nature, just let me know. And we just have to make sure we're doing that like about 2 weeks out in advance. That way SAO has plenty of time to get us through the process. All right, so now we'll start talking about some of the fun stuff with our active and ongoing projects. I will pass it off to the various project managers for each one of these projects, and they'll describe a little bit of their project history, how they've gotten to the point where they are now, and then some of the active problems they're facing in the moment and things they're hoping to do in the future. So I'll first hand it off to James to talk about Rocket League.
So I'm James, project manager for Rocket League. So we're basically trying to replicate the Rocket League video game in play. So that just means that we have racing cars and we're trying to make them play soccer. So you can see our field, that's a semester old, but that's basically the size of the field, size of the car. And the goal for this semester, because this is our fourth semester now for the project, the goal is to have everything to a state where we can drop it in the atrium of any building or like another building, and then set it up so that we can have a line of people, and basically we just hand them Xbox controllers and they control a car, and then we have another car controlled by the computer, and it's going to play against them on this physical arena. Basically battling an AI opponent in Rocket League, but in person. So some of the technology that we have in order to do that is you can see each car has a little tag on the top of it. It looks kind of like a QR code, but it's called an April tag. And we've got 4 cameras suspended on the PVC. All of that goes into a massive computer that then figures out where everything is. And then we've got a neural network to calculate how the car should react. And then we have a few electrical computers that actually send it to the car. So as far as work that we're looking to do this semester in order to meet that goal, first we need to do a little bit of fixing of the field itself. You can see that the PVC is bending, and it's actually just like using masking tape to hold it to those tripods. It's incredibly jank. We really want to have better 3D printed mounting. We have aluminum purchased, and so we just need to actually put that together. We've had all that material, but just nobody's gotten around to doing that yet. One of the other things we're looking at doing this semester is improving that electrical system. So you can see the stock car on the top right, and then we souped it up with some crazy electronics to make it go stupid fast. And so most of the cars have been upgraded, but they just need a little bit more work so that everything doesn't fall out whenever they move around. And then we also have our system that's able to control 1 car, but we need to scale that up so that we can control up to 6 at a time. So if you're interested in Arduino soldering, that could be a really good sub-project to get started in within Rocket League. And then the other main area of focus is with that neural network that plays Rocket League. So this is something we did last semester just to learn some of the basics and test some of our tools. It's playing the snake game. This is after about 2 hours of training on a supercomputer that we have access to. So you can see it's pretty good at the game. And then this was just taken a day or 2 ago. And so that's our car in the simulator after 5 days of training on the computer. It's still in that, just kind of experimenting, learning how the world works. It looks really young phase of neural network training. So we really need to figure out what's going on there and make that a lot better. So that's happening in Python. And so if you've got prior experience with neural networks or just want to hop in, that's another sub-project that we're going to be pushing this semester. So that's pretty much all I've got. I think Robot Arm is next. So that just kind of shows the simulator. It'll just kind of move through like the kind of planning algorithm to like given a certain position that the robot needs to go to, plan all the intermediate points and then send it, and then actually execute it. So it does that as well on the upper video to actually pick up a chess piece. Yeah, so this is with our like current hardware, which as I said is like still a testing rig, and from a hardware perspective, we're building a totally new robot arm
You can see in that corner, that's the model that we're using, that we're like essentially replicating. It's open source robot arm, and currently in like the manufacturing phase. And so there's still a lot of work left to assemble it, put together all the motors and everything, and then start testing it with kind of the algorithms that we've been working on so far to grasp chess pieces. And then on top of that sits kind of the actual interface with like a chess engine, so we can essentially have this robot arm beat Magnus Carlsen once we get it working. But yeah, that's an overview for robot arm. I think we'll move to Wizard's Chess.
My name's Elena. I'm the project manager for Wizard Chess, where we're basically making Harry Potter Wizard Chess in real life using voice control systems and computer vision. So we kind of have two teams going. We have a hardware team and a software team. And this is kind of an overview of what the hardware team has been doing. We've been 3D printing motor mounts with the CAD and no, this one wasn't working yesterday. And it moves. So we got that. But obviously we have a lot more to work on because we have to make 31 more of these pieces, and electrical circuits and all of that. And as you can see in one of the top pictures, you can kind of see the scale of the board. So each one of those squares is 1.5 feet by 1.5 feet. So you can kind of like imagine how big this is supposed to be. On the software side of things, we've been experimenting with computer vision. So we've been doing things like edge detection, color detection, and April tags, and kind of experimenting with those and seeing which works best for what we want to do. You can kind of see like that in real time, how it's picking up the like even the wording on the whiteboard behind the people. And so yeah, so in terms of software, we're working on voice recognition, computer vision. We're also focusing on path planning and networking. So our setup is kind of like we have Raspberry Picos on each robot, and then they're going to be communicating with the Raspberry Pi for the control center, Pi 4 for the control center, where that will be doing like all the executive decisions and everything. So if you have any interest in that, you should join Wizard Chess.
I'm David, and I'm the project manager for Piano Hand. This is a project that started like late last semester, like after halfway through the semester. So we kind of like you could say we just started. What we did last semester was we tried that hand right there. That was done by the harder team, and we basically made it so that it can like move to within one octave of a piano, which is eight white keys, if you for scale, and that was something the software team did. Um, that was completely based on Arduino and servo motors. So they programmed it. They programmed it to make sure that this hand can hit each and every one of the keys within one octave. So this is a basic design which really is like making the hand hit it like on one octave. This semester what we're trying to do is we're gonna make another like degree of add a degree of freedom outside. So to make the hand actually move like a real hand, like a wrist, so we can hit more than one octave. And we're also planning to like transfer the servo control, like like I would say multiple servos to be controlled at the same time. So if you're interested in designing, I would say human-like systems, and because that's what I'm trying to explore with this project, we're trying to explore human dynamics and like, replicate such high degree of freedom systems onto robots. If you're interested in designing such stuff as hardware, you can definitely join us. And electronics, we're going to be electronics and software. We're going to be looking at Arduino's and Raspberry Pis. We're going to transfer Arduino's to Raspberry Pis. We're going to be also looking at a bit of PCB design. Uh, all the electronics onto the hand. So we will be doing a bit of PCB design, and yeah, if that is something that interests you, please be sure to join.
And our last active project is the drone delivery project. Siraj is the project manager for this project, but he's not here today, so I'll sort of fill in for him. The core mission of this project is they're looking just to explore UAVs as a whole, and the actual target that they're aiming this project at is within the field of drone delivery. So their main mission here is, well, our mission for them within the club is that we want to be able to send the drone to Bozo's office to be able to pick up our reimbursement checks and then bring them back to us at BIDC. But there's a lot of steps it takes to get there. They kind of started within the same timeline as the piano hand project. So they just began late last semester, and they've been working off of one of our older hardware platforms. You can sort of see in the bottom left-hand corner there. That's one of our older, I guess, mini drone platforms that we used to use in some of our competitive days within some UAV competitions. And most recently, they've been focusing on applying computer vision on that platform. So you can sort of see on the right-hand side just some experiments with various computer vision applications so they can handle some collision detection when they're eventually flying a trajectory. Eventually, they're going to be looking to upgrade to a newer UAV package, something that's like probably a little larger and a little more robust for what their application needs. But until then, they're probably a little more software focused on running certain algorithms on this specific platform and just ensuring they can properly control it before they upgrade. So that rounds out all of our active ongoing projects. As you can probably tell, we have a wide variety. Maybe a good bit is chess focused, but beyond that, there's a pretty large variety in what it is our different projects are trying to achieve, what their like technical requirements are, and every other facet of each of those projects. So there's definitely plenty of room for anyone of a new background, any interest to get involved in a lot of these different projects, and hopefully there's something there that catches your interest. Usually in the fall, we offer students to bring forth new ideas for projects, and then we give them the resources to push us forward. We're not doing that in the spring semester just because of the state of where the club's at. We already have 5 ongoing projects, 2 just started last semester, so we're giving ourselves a little bit of time to breathe and just make sure we're carrying these projects at like a stable rate before we bring on new ones. But that may be an opportunity in the future if you are interested in hosting one of your own projects. Definitely be on the lookout for that, like in the fall, and there might be some opportunities there. As far as onboarding with any one of the projects you just saw, how that will essentially work is that you can either talk to some of the project managers up here today. If you're not sure or you're kind of still unsure of like where you might fit in or what some of the technical requirements of the project might be, after this you can come talk to me and hopefully I can help guide you into whatever you might find interesting. But beyond that, you can also read more about the projects on our wiki page, which is linked there, wiki.prudork.com. So all the projects host their own sort of section of the wiki, which you can read more about some of the technical details of what they're achieving and a little more about the mission that they're going for. And then once you kind of get a good idea of the different projects and some more details about the specific project you'd be interested in, the best opportunity to get involved is at the upcoming onboarding meetings. So each one of our projects hosts an onboarding meeting within the next few weeks, and that's really just a meeting they set aside to ensure all new members are getting caught up to speed and really can find a place within their project. So if you join the Discord, which I'll help link on the next page, I'll send out a big list, and I'll also email the BoilerLink roster the dates of all those onboarding meetings. So you just need to make sure you're looking out for that, and that's the easiest way to get involved. But in general, your project managers are kind of going to be your guide in this process for the individual projects. If you have any questions about the specific project, we always direct those questions to the project manager, and they'll also be the sort of resource you need to go to get more involved and maybe find out more information. Yeah, key detail here is just the wiki to learn more about some of these projects. And then as far as like next steps, I kind of already hinted at all of these, but joining the Discord is probably the biggest one. That's our main source of communication, and that's where pretty much all the action happens within the club and where most of the scheduling happens. There is where I'll be posting that long list of the different onboarding meetings that we're offering the next week or so for the different projects. But if you also join the BoilerLink, I guess, club page, then I'll also send out an email there, so you should get it on both communication channels. And beyond that, just make sure you're looking out for those meetings and staying involved with the Discord to go.
For the Discord, make sure you back with so that
Yeah, each of the projects should have their sort of own like channel section where you can check out, I guess, some of the announcements that are going on in the general chat. and sort of see what they're up to. But then also in the general announcement or the larger announcements channels where I'll be posting the details in those onboarding meetings. And if there are any questions now, we can take those. And if not, like I said, you guys can come up and talk to us. We'll have Rocket League posted over here or wherever with James, and then Robot Arm, Wiz's Chest, Piano Hand, and then I can cover drone delivery. Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad you asked that because I usually do hit on that, but I forgot this time. We try to make a blanket statement that there is no, like, I guess, formal technical requirement for joining any of these projects. What I will say is, though, like, that it isn't like I guess, more of a handheld process. Like, we don't guide members throughout the entire, I guess, course of learning a new skill. But what we do is we point you to the resources and we kind of be or direct as possible about what it is you do need to learn. So our wiki provides a few tutorials on some of the specific skills I guess we'll be talking about. But the projects you are interested in joining will also have sort of their own list of like, hey, here's some skills that like we kind of need you to be caught up on to be able to participate in this section of the projects. And then they'll hopefully point you in the direction of certain resources for how you can find out more and get involved. And also a lot of it, especially within the field of robotics, like a lot of what you do need to learn usually can be picked up on the spot or while you're like actually doing the project. So kind of learning by hands-on experience. But we try to make a no formal requirement for getting involved as long as you're the one like putting an effort to making sure you're picking up on those skills, if that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, we are kind of like making a transition. So we used to be hosted, or at least do most of our lab work in ARMS. But yeah, we in the past year or so, or I guess past semester, we're almost fully transitioned to BIDC. And actually, just recently, we used to only have like a table and then a single shelf. But I guess Purdue Electric Racing moved out, so we get half of their entire space. And if you've ever been in like the BIDC assembly space, they had a lot of space. So we're pretty excited about that. And in like the next weekend or so, we'll be moving all of our stuff over, and we should have a lot more room for all of our projects to sort of operate within that space. Yeah, so Sarah, who's not here today, she's sort of like, I guess, our shop manager. She's one who usually like handles that process of onboarding there. What will usually happen is BIDC allots us like a certain number of people who get ID card access, swipe card access. So we'll have those names of people who can actually like swipe in, and then your projects will like schedule meeting times or like say like office hours where there's going to be a promise to be at BDC. And as long as someone who's on that list can swipe everybody in, you should be able to work within the assembly space and on the upper level where we sometimes have project meetings. But Sarah is the best resource for that. So I'm going to wait for her to like publish more resources, especially since we're transitioning spaces. Some things might change about how that works. Yeah, BIDC. Yeah, BIDC has its own like requirements of a few things you need to do before you can use the space. Yeah. Yeah. No fee to join. That's kind of like one of our I guess core mentalities is we try to make it as accessible as possible. And the leadership team is one who's just focused on supplying the resources, and we just expect that everybody else like has the passion to want to do something within the field of robotics. So no fee to join, nothing like that. Any other questions? Cool. Yeah, so like I said earlier, we'll have like Rocket League over here. I'll cover like any questions for drone delivery, and then Robot Arm, Wiz's Chest, Piano Hand. You come up, talk to us, just ask questions you want to get to know. If you aren't sure about where to go, if you know you're kind of interested in joining the club, but not sure what project you would want to fit into or where your skills might be best needed, you can come up and talk to me, and hopefully I can act as a guide for that source. But other than that, thank you guys for coming, and I hope you guys have a good rest of your night.